so many important things in our world. Right on the front page of the paper, the U.S. agrees to assist Afghans for 10 years. Now, as a Christian, I'm more than a little worried about our government getting into bed with some radically Islamic country. I mean, they're just going to use us while they oppress Christians in their country, and that doesn't even touch the violence that pervades the whole culture, and the violence with which we have to operate even to be there. Surely that's an affront to the image of God in us. What are we going to do about it? A vision for a ghost town. This is about here's a guy who's an environmentalist who wants to reclaim an environmental wasteland, turn it into some sort of a resort. Now that's just the sort of thing that we ought to be involved in. I mean, we're stewards of the earth, and as Christians, we're all about redemption. Why aren't more Christians interested in redeeming the environment? Mitt Romney is going to be the Republican nominee for president. He's a Mormon. You know, President Obama he's just a nominal Christian. You know, as Christians, we ought to have something to say about the lack of spiritual truth in the highest office in the land, don't you think? What about abortion? You know, our country is killing millions of unborn babies every year. And if we really believe that these embryos are babies, how can we not be protesting on every street corner? There's a lot at stake in this election. He's looking at this. Help Mason get to know the world around him better. This article's about a little boy with cerebral palsy, and he needs a home life. He needs families to take him and children like him into their home and love them. And if there was anything we were called to do as Christians, it's to love children. And what are we going to do about it? You can't even read the newspaper without feeling the tug of God to do something in our world. There are so many things wrong. So many things that the Bible talks about that are just adrift in our society. I mean, marriage is in terrible shape. Sexual immorality is rampant. The poor are ignored. There's no respect for authority, not for parents or teachers or anybody. Our economy is based on debt, and that debt oppresses millions of people. And what about the ethics of war? Or the treatment of homosexuals? Or genocide? Or what about state-sponsored welfare? Or what about gambling? Is that right? And it doesn't matter what you're talking about. People line up to argue about it. And the list goes on and on and on. And people are ready to go to war over this stuff. And you better be ready, because they're likely to try to enlist you in their battle. And the thing is that so many of these things are really worthy of our discussions, and they're really worthy and they're right for us to consider. And to some degree, we need to know what we think about this stuff. But is that what we're about? Is that really what we're about? Some Pharisees and Herodians came to Jesus and they wanted to trap him. And so they asked Jesus, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Now, this was one of those burning theological issues of the day, and it was a key to living in the world of Jesus' day. Caesar was considered by people and by himself, of course, as deity. And to pay tribute to him was seen as an acknowledgement of his claims. And even beyond that, this tax contributed to the Roman domination of Israel, and the people hated it. I mean, God said the people were free. God said these people answer to God and not Caesar. And so some Jews believed that it was a sin to pay the tax. And some felt like it was okay. So they brought it to Jesus. How would he answer? And however he answered, it would make somebody mad at him. To many people, this was a huge question. And there were people who were willing to go to war over it. So Jesus asks for a coin, and he looks at the coin and he says, whose likeness is on the coin? He says, whose picture is here? People answered, Caesar's. And so Jesus' answer then to them was to give to Caesar what was Caesar's, and to give to God the things that belong to God. And so we have some things to sort out. I mean, what does it mean to live in a world that's controlled by Caesar? It means we're not going to agree with everything that goes on. It means that we're going to have to tolerate some of the foolishness around us. It also means that there are millions of things to distract us. Paying taxes, abortion, beliefs of leaders, society's morals, welfare of children. The list goes on and on and on about things Christians have something to say about and have an opinion about. Jesus has called us to follow him, to be his disciple, to deny ourselves, to take up a cross, to follow him. He's called us to be his disciples, to give God what is due God. It's God's image on us. We belong to him. And so let's fix our eyes on Jesus and live our lives as his disciples. And what about these pressing matters? Where will they end up? I don't have any idea. But I know this. If we're serious about following Jesus, if we live our lives wholly devoted to him, if we are salt and light in a bland world, then this world will change. And even the things that appear now to belong to Caesar will begin to change. Not because we became activists, but because we were disciples of Jesus. Because we made a difference in our world. Our world. And I know it's tempting to complain about Washington or to shake our fist at society, but that's not our world. That's Caesar's world. Let's you and I begin by offering up to God our world. Let's begin by giving to God what rightfully belongs to God, ourselves. And let's see where that leads. Because I have a feeling that the changes that being a disciple will make in our families and in our workplaces and in our communities will be far more powerful than anything we can do by chasing after a cause. So I'm going to put down my protest signs and my petitions, and I'm going to live in this world as a disciple of Jesus. And I'm just not going to be distracted by Caesar.